Oh, how's it going, everybody? And this is kind of an odd video. I did this last year. So what we're doing today, as you can probably see from the title, is a 2025 recap in the world of rock. That's right. So mainly we're just going to be going over what was released in 2025, like major events in music in 2025, and maybe a little bit of a preview for what's to come in 2026. So here we go. So first off, we're going to talk about what we got in 2025. And as I was researching this, we got a lot of content in 2025 in the rock world. Even though rock isn't all that mainstream anymore, it's out there. So what we got? So what we got this year? So 3 Days Grace released an album called Affliction. We got All the Remains with Anti-Fragile. We got Arch Enemy with Blood Dynasty. We got a really popular band here, Chevelle. They released Bright as Blasphemy. Real good album. Love it. Hailstorm, local heroes, of course, from York, PA. They released an album called Everest. Linkin Park did a re-release of From Zero, which features 3 bonus tracks. That's where the chick got in as lead singer, and I actually did like the original album, believe it or not. Going to the synth metal world, we have Dynasty with Game of Faces, featuring, what's that guy's name? Niles Mullen. He's also a part of Amaranth. So good stuff there. And then, just very, very recently, John 5 released another solo piece of work called Ghosts. And I feel like John 5 is like a modern-day, more heavier version of Joe Satriani. Like if you haven't checked him out, do so. If you like his work in like Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, you'll love his solo stuff if you like riffs and everything. We actually saw him live at the Orchards maybe 10 years ago or so. And he did like a killer instrumental cover of Beat It by Michael Jackson. Very surprising to hear that. So yeah, definitely check his stuff out if you haven't already. We have Halloween with Giants and Monsters, kind of going back to the glam sound, but they're still here. You have Volbeat with Gods of Angels Trust. Going back to synth metal, you have Aphantasia with Here Be Dragons. You have Burning Witches with Inquisition. And then, sort of an oddity, you have Kiss featuring the Soundboard series. They released a show from San Antonio, Texas, recorded back in 1985. That's during their non-makeup hair band era, or I guess before hair bands really peaked. But definitely interesting to hear that. You have Puddle of Mudd with Kiss the Machine. This released 2 years after the last album. Good solid stuff right there. You have Furuntrance with Nightclub, or spelled with a K, but you say it as Nightclub. You have Lordi with Limited Deduction. They're that band from Finland. And then you have Testament with Parabellum. They've been around for a while. Dream Theater with Is it Paranomnia or Parasomnia? Yeah, I can't read that shit. Then you got Otherwise with some kind of alchemy. You have Deftones with Private Music. That's a very good, solid album. I did an all-in with them too. I think I did that all-in after they released that album, but maybe not. Maybe not. I forget. I have to go back at the video and look. You have Buck Cherry with Roar of Thunder. You have, and this is no joke, D's Nuts with Sadade. Yes, that is a real band name. And I'm going to tell you how I discovered the band D's Nuts. So, my fiance got me an Alexa for Christmas 2 years ago. I was trying to see if it responded when I said that. Anyhow, she got me this Alexa for Christmas, and let's see if it'll do it. Alexa, D's Nuts.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
D's Nuts. Alexa, D's Nuts.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Yeah, prove me wrong. But I said that, like, when I first got it, I said that, and the band D's Nuts actually popped up on there, and it started playing, so I started, like, downloading some of their stuff and listening. God damn, make a fucking liar out of me, Alexa. Alexa, why are you making a liar? Alexa, shut up. Alexa, why are you making a liar out of me? Alexa, fuck off.
By the way, I've got a brand new voice with Alexa Plus. Want to hear it? Just say, Alexa, can I hear your new voice?
Alexa, can you shut up? Okay, so enough of that. So then we got Ghost with Skeleta. We got Lacuna Coil with Sleepless Empire. Very solid album. Very awesome. And then a really odd one. Nobody expected this. You have Spinal Tap with The End Continues. Now, they did release it as a movie, and I'm just talking about the soundtrack here. I did listen to both. I did watch the movie and listen to the soundtrack. Good, solid stuff. Elton John, believe it or not, is a guest in it. In both the movie and the soundtrack. So, yeah, they did a lot of... They did a few remakes of, like, original songs from the original album. You know, like Stonehenge and a couple others. But with, like, guest vocalists involved, too, which was kind of cool. It wasn't just, like, a re-recording. They did it with, like, you know, guest musicians. So, yeah, they turned their amps up to 11 once again. So then you got Arian with The Light Burns the Sky, going back to the synth metal era, or the synth metal genre, I should say. We got Gwar with Return of Gorgor, which all it is sort of like a combination of an EP/live album, sort of some couple new cuts, couple live cuts, but it's Gwar. And then I just did an all-in on this one, The Revenge of Alice Cooper, and yeah, like I said, his discography goes all the way back to 1969. Nice. And then you have Ailstorm with the Underlist Chronicles. And then a new kind of chick band, Dorothy. They came out with an album called The Way. They came out with an original album back in March of this year. And then they just released a deluxe version of it with like a couple of like extra remix tracks and an acoustic track. So if you like sort of the chick band vibe, definitely check out Dorothy. You know, if you're into bands like Hailstorm and you know, those kind of bands, definitely check out Dorothy. Definitely underrated. And then Killswitch Engage has This Consequence. And then you got Pop Evil with What Remains. And believe it or not, I didn't put it in my notes here, Styx, of all bands, came out with a new album this year. I forget what I'm going to have to look it up. I forget what the fucking song was called. I'm not going to edit this out because we're not Hollywood. What is Styx's new album? Oh, I know. Alexa, what's the name of Styx's new album?
Styx's most recent release is the album Circling from Above, released on May 30th, 2025.
Yeah, so they had a song that, like, the lead single to that album had, like, some sort... It was sort of like talking about how like, AI is destroying the world and shit. But hard to believe they're still around after 50 years making content. So, alright, so we'll go over some standalone singles from 2025 that might possibly be albums in 2026. I don't know. Some of the songs could land on albums in 2026 or later. I don't know yet. But we got two singles from the Foo Fighters. They released a single called Today's Song Single, and they also released another one called Asking for a Friend. So, new material from them coming up? I don't know. Papa Roach, they came out with a song called Brain Dead. Baby Metal, they have a song called From Me to You. That's the Japanese rockers. Kind of a little funny side story about Baby Metal. So, me and my fiance were driving to the Corman Christmas. You know, it'd be my side of the family with GMC. So, we were driving to the Corman Christmas, and in my shuffle, in my truck, Baby Metal comes on. I think it was a song called BMC that came on. And my fiance's like, what is this? Like, she never heard anything like it before. But yeah, Baby Metal, definitely something different. I like it. So then we got to talk about, there's a couple singles that released from Ozzy. Yes, Ozzy Osbourne, still releasing singles, even though he's unfortunately gone. So we have Ozzy with Billy Morrison, Gods of Rock and Roll, which that one released before he passed away. And it was like the last original song that Ozzy actually did. And then we have this released after he passed away. Ozzy, Ozzy and Judas Priest collaborated for a new version of War Pigs. They call it the charity version. So, very cool take on that song. Disturbed, they did a song called I Will Not Break. New album coming out from them? I don't know yet. Small Town Titans, for those of you local fans, you know, another band from York, like Hailstorm. These guys, they came out with a song called I'm Not Done. They're more known for their version of The Grinch. But yeah, very cool guys if you ever meet them in person when you see them out live. You have Marilyn Manson. They did a remake of In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Which, that one actually came out and went number one almost right away. Okay, so Shinedown, they did 3 singles, 3 standalones. Again, I don't know if there's more new material coming out or not, or a new album, but they have a song called 365, they have Dance Kid Dance, and Killing Fields. Now, here's one that was kind of unexpected, after years of not really hearing much from them. You have Limp Bizkit, that's right. And the song is called Making Love to Morgan Wallen. And I was made aware of this by a co-worker who was probably in diapers when Limp Bizkit made its peak fame. And I love the track. I actually ended up putting it in my list. It's awesome, you know. It kind of goes back to like the sort of the original vibe of Limp Bizkit. You know, I mean, minus the bassist. Obviously, we lost the bassist this year, which I'll get to that here in a little bit in the video here. But yeah, good stuff from them. Another one, and it's not really new songs, but I'm going to say re-released. Rush did a 50 compilation, meaning 50 years. They haven't recorded any new material in probably since 2012, since Clockwork Angels. They haven't recorded any new material since then. And they toured maybe a couple years after, and then split. And now they got back together to do like a reunion tour. Maybe I don't know, half a dozen shows. But they also released a Rush 50 compilation, which covers basically the highlighted songs of their career, along with, you know, some rare versions and whatnot. And the reason I bring this up is they actually re-released their 2 earliest songs that they've ever released. Basically, it was like a single and a B-side that was released for a limited time and you never saw it again. So, this features the song Not Fade Away and You Can't Fight It. Basically 2 songs that predate the self-titled Rush album. I think they originally released in 72 or 73. And then here, in 2025, they got released in this compilation for the first time since then. You know, great to hear that stuff. Definitely unexpected, but great to hear. And then Testament again. They released a cover of Seek and Destroy by Metallica. Very cool take on that song. You have Otherwise, it released a song called Permanent Vacation. Five Finger Death Punch, sort of an oddity here. They're doing a greatest hits, or they're doing a best of compilation, volumes 1 and 2. But the thing of it is, they're re-recording everything. Now, the highlights of these is on volume 1, they redo the song I Refuse with In This Moment. On volume 2, they redo the song The End with Baby Metal. Yep, Baby Metal again. And then we have Silvertongue. Yes, our boys from Baltimore. We were seeing them every weekend. You saw them here on YouTube. And Speed is the only original member with them as we speak. If you go back and watch our videos, Speed's the only original. But anyhow, they're still out there. They're releasing content here and there. They're touring in a lot more areas than they used to. They're not just in the 4-state anymore. They're all over, just touring and getting their name out there. So they released a single called This Hell, and they also released another one called Caustic. You know, very cool songs. I like them. And then we got another band that I saw locally called Lansdowne. I saw them at the Orchards with Silvertongue one time. And they're getting some content out there as well, little by little. So you have They did a song called Burn It Down, they did another one called For Real Freedom, and they did another one called Make It Lie, all standalone singles. So, yeah, I'm glad to see some of the local bands start to spread out a little bit too from like 10 years ago. It's kind of cool to see that. So that was pretty much a recap of what we saw in 2025. 2026, what will we see? So far, set in stone, this is what we got. We have the band Beyond the Black, which they're another synth metal band. They have an album called Break the Silence. That's due out on the 9th of January. We have, also on the 9th of January, Alter Bridge with their self-titled album. We have Uhawi, which, if you don't know, they're an Egyptian metal band. They're kind of like the band The Who. They're like that. They're from the same country. But anyhow, it looks like they're going to be releasing an album called Human Herds. And then, coming up, January 16th, we have Creator releasing Crushers of the World. Gonna have to check that out. I didn't know they were releasing new stuff still. And then we have January 23rd, Megadeth with their self-titled album. Very highly anticipated. The 3 tracks I heard from it so far, very solid. I can't wait to hear the album. I can't wait to listen to it. And supposedly, they're going to do a cover of the song Ride the Lightning at the very end of the album. They released what the track listing is going to be. So, it'll be interesting to hear that. And, of course, they're going to do this very last album, and they're going to do their very last tours. And they're touring with Iron Maiden this year, set to come to Hershey this summer. And I looked at ticket prices on that show, because, man, those are 2 bands I've never seen that I want to see. But for the cheapest seats, over $200 fucking dollars. Yeah. I mean, shows have gotten ridiculous ever since COVID, man. Like, I'm telling you. But, enough ranting about that. I'm just kind of stating things here. I'm just kind of going on a tangent here. But, another one that we're expected to see is February 27th, Rob Zombie, The Great Satan. And they've got 2 new tracks out on that right now that you can check out. So yeah, that's what you could expect in 2026. Okay, so moving on to the obituaries of 2025 in music. And yeah, definitely a sad year for sure. We lost 2 iconic ones here. So we're going to start off with, I guess, the lesser known ones. So we lost a former lead singer of Iron Maiden named Paul Mario Day. And he was 69 years old. Nice. And he was the lead singer of Iron Maiden before they took off. And this is just the year after they lost Paul Di'Anno, who was the original lead singer on the first 2 albums of Iron Maiden. He was 66, so bad luck on that front. And then you have Perry Belafonte of The Cure, dying at 65. He did guitar and keyboards for them. And he literally just passed away Christmas Eve, like literally not even a week after I'm recording, or not even a week after I'm recording this here. And then we have Sam Rivers of Limp Bizkit, who was a bassist. He passed away at 48 years old, very young. And then we have, not kind of getting off the music a little bit, but not really. I have to do this because of Spinal Tap. Rob Reiner. We lost him at 68 years old. And what's crazy is, I bought the Spinal Tap The End Continues DVD literally the day before he died. He's the guy who interviewed the band in both movies, both the original and the new one. So it's kind of weird that I got the movie the day before he died, and then I watched it like maybe a day or 2 after he died. So kind of weird that happened. But I just thought that he deserved a mention because he was in those 2 movies. And then you got a big legend from Kiss, Ace Frehley, who passed away at 74 years old. So apparently he was in the studio recording more new content. We just got a very good album from him in 24 called 10,000 Volts. I very highly recommend checking that one out. But I guess he was recording like another cover CD, another cover album. And in the studio, I guess he tripped and fell, and it ended up where he was on life support, and they unfortunately had to pull the plug. So rest in peace, Space Ace. And he was definitely my favorite Kiss member for sure. First time I got to see Kiss at Hershey was in 2000, right after, it was a couple years after the original band reunited, so I got to see him live once. And then the second time around when Kiss came to Hershey in 03, then Ace had stepped off on his own by that point again. But yeah, very sad there. And then, getting off the topic a little bit, Hulk Hogan at 71 years old, probably the most iconic wrestler in all of the WWF at the time, or WWE as they now call it. And then we have to get to the elephant in the room. 2 days before Hulk Hogan, we lose the Prince of Darkness, the legendary Ozzy Osbourne. That was a very hard one for me, honestly. It's the worst one in music ever. That's a guy I listened to pretty much the whole time I've listened to rock music, going back to probably late 80s, early 90s. So I've listened to him a very long time. Very legendary. I did like a 3-part all-in with him. I did the first part featuring his era with Sabbath. I did the second part with his solo career, and then I did a third one that was talking about the Back to the Beginning concert, which that whole concert happened. It was a little over 2 weeks before his passing. I think he knew that his time was up, and he just wanted one last hurrah. He didn't go away quietly, that's for sure. But it was definitely a great end to, a great career and in his life. Sad to see him go, but man, I don't know what more to say about that. And I'm not sure, if they're going to be releasing, officially anything on DVD or CD with that concert. It'd be cool if they did, but I heard no word on it yet, so we don't know. I know people, bought the pay-per-view and pirated it. There's pirated versions of it out there, but there's, no official release of it announced yet. But, boy, if there is, I'll be the one that, flies on shit, you know that. But, yeah, so not much more to say as far as the 2025 recap and the 2026 preview. I guess we'll see what pops up in 26 and go on from there. But I am noticing that, ever since Ozzy did that last concert and passed away, a lot of other bands, like Megadeth, they're saying we're going to do one more tour and that's enough. And, in a few years down the road from now, what's going to happen? A lot of the legendary bands are going to be hanging it up. Look at Metallica. They've been out there for, well over 40 years. Even Green Day. You think Green Day, for my generation, you think Green Day, they're modern? No, these guys have been around 30-plus years. The album Dookie, that's 30 years old already. That's crazy. Same with The Offspring, too. They were around that long. Even Blink-182, hell, that's 25 years old. But I'm kind of just going off on a tangent here. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this year-end recap here on 96.9 The Whip, featuring, albums that were released in 2025, singles released in 2025, albums going to be released in 2026, and the 2025 obituaries that don't rock. So, that being said, stay tuned for more brew reviews. We're still dropping them from Kenny's house from that binge. And once my back gets good and healed up from my my whole, well, not really injury, but my mishap or whatever, I'll be back at the bar drinking. We'll see you next binge. Probably that round will probably start dropping in February if we get another binge in here in January. But we'll see what happens there. But as far as the back goes, I've been dealing with... I got diagnosed with degenerative disc, a pinched nerve, and sciatic nerve all at the same time. Which, it was 2 doctor's visits, 1 urgent care visit, 1 ER visit, X-ray, and MRI. So, 6 visits in all, and I'm just now recovering from it. This has been going on since before Thanksgiving, and here we are just about at the turn of the year, and I'm getting around the best as I have been since the hospital visit, but I'm still a little sore, so I don't wish that shit on anybody. But enough about that. We'll see you next year, and stay tuned for more brew reviews. We'll see ya.